Those parts go out, they come back, and then we start the assembly process. We go over here and I'll show you where we assemble.
Awesome.
Shoot some more?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do. Okay, so what are we building, and what is all this? This is a lot of parts.
Yeah, so over here, what we're going to do is the new LC1P, which is our 22 long rifle, machined upper with polymer handle. Here's the 3 polymer parts. They're almost identical. I mean, they really are almost identical to the metal parts. Here's our 2 MIM parts, the trigger and the striker. There's our frame, our serialized part. There's the receiving, the side plate, and here's our barrel, 22 LR barrel. And then on our assembly area here, we've got our 2 lock tabs. They're identical parts that go to the handle and the barrel. We have our trigger pivot pin, our handle pivot pin, our mainspring, trigger spring, barrel screw holds the barrel on. These little 256 fasteners, we put 3 in the upper and 3 in the lower, and little tiny springs. There are 3 of those that go in the gun, 1 each in the latches, and then 1 in the ammo storage. Then we put this little tiny detent on top of that spring for there. The little set screw goes in the back of the frame. It just is actually just a dust cover. It just covers the hole there where that spring gets inserted. And then we got some little tiny 5/1000 thick Mylar washers. That's something that we've started within the last 6 months probably. And it makes the fit that much better between the handle and the upper, and between the barrel and the frame.
One thing I've noticed about the ammunition holder compared to, that was one of the changes. When did y'all decide to make the change here? Because with mine, it's still unloaded. The ammo could be stored more vertical, and now over here you have it on the side and slide down.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what went into that. We made this change at the end of 2018. Basically, it went in production and in January of 2019.
Terrible, isn't that?
And that's our Gen 2. That's one of the bigger changes. This storage door will only accommodate 22 long rifle cartridges. It will accommodate 4, which is cool. That's the original design. The one problem with this, and it really didn't manifest until we started making conversion barrels to 22 Magnum in this gun, the recoil is so much more powerful, much more significant than the LR. There is a tendency during recoil for the storage door to work its way open.
Oh, okay.
The other thing, especially firing Magnums, the other thing is that Magnums don't fit in this thing. So those were 2 big things that we decided to look at relocating the lid, the storage lid, and make the pocket larger. Now, there's almost not room for 22 Magnums, and I almost gave up, but we managed to get it crammed in there. It will only accept 3 cartridges now instead of 4.
Okay.
But you can put Magnums or long rifles. Actually, you can put 6 22 shorts in there. If you have an LR gun, you could put 6 or maybe even 7. I can't remember.
Would 22 short work with the LifeCard?
22 short fires no problem out of the 22 LR. And 22 longs, 22 shot shells, all of those will work in the 22 LR. They will actually work in the Magnum as well, but it's not the same. The chamber's oversized.
Gotcha.
And the Magnum will not chamber in a 22 LR gun.
Okay.
So now it when you're firing, your grip keeps it closed. So that's the biggest benefit. But it also will hold the shells.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So we normally start with pre-assembling the handle,
Okay.
because that's the type of thing that can be done ahead of schedule. Somebody can come in and do 50 or 100 of them, and then they're ready when you're ready to attach it to a serialized part.
Okay.
So this is the polymer handle, as we mentioned.
This is new stuff.
This is the new stuff. We are just getting ready to start shipping these.
Awesome.
So a small compression spring drops into the little hole,
Okay.
and this is actually one of the most difficult parts. Then this little tiny detent.
Oh boy.
The way that I do it, I'm a lefty, you're a lefty too, right?
Yes.
So I take with my left hand and I start it in that spring and I push it down flat, and then I slide my thumb off and trade and put my other thumb on it.
So how many of these have you done?
I would say in the last 2 years, I've probably assembled more than 1,000. In the early days, I was the only person working here. I did I assembled every single gun.
Yeah. Because I am struggling, so keep on talking.
Yeah, so I'm not the primary person assembling guns anymore. I do work on guns almost every day still, but certainly my sons that work here have assembled far more LifeCards at this point than I ever did.
So are you doing these in your sleep yet, or have you dreamed about putting these together?
I really don't feel like I have. That's funny, I've never really thought about that.
Yeah.
It is the kind of thing that I feel like I could do without thinking about it.
Yeah.
But I don't think I dream about them. Yeah,
I know for me
you
what...
can lay it. You can get a little closer there. There you go. There you go.
Almost.
I just don't let go. You're
There you
not in
go.
a jam there.
All right.
There you go.
I know for me, it's always been a bad day when I was dreaming about my old job. Like, why are you here? It's 3 in the morning. Why are you wanting your coffee? I was a barista. So.
That's funny.
All right.
All right, so you got that. We usually do a function check, open and close it a couple times. These polymer lids work perfect.
Nice.
I'm so happy with them.
Excellent.
The one part that was pre-installed in this handle is this little tiny rubber cord.
Mm-hmm.
It's an 1/8 inch diameter rubber O-ring cord stock, and this, we slide that in there and trim it off. It's just the first thing we do.
Mm-hmm.
That takes up any little bit of play between the frame and the handle when it's open,
Mm-hmm.
and it allows for a tight latch, but it also provides the tiniest little bit of cushion during recoil.
Okay.
So anyway, that's there. Most people don't ever know it's in there. It's not something that would ever need to be replaced.
And you're
It's not
talking
going to
about
fall out.
this?
Yep, it goes with that and that.
That and that sort of cushion.
Yeah.
Right there. Okay.
Okay, so now in the handle, turn it upright like this,
Okay.
and take another one of those small compression springs, drop it down in that little tiny hole right there. It'll just drop freely. Yep.
It is.
And then you take a lock tab, and it's going to be oriented like this when it's done.
Okay.
But you catch the spring with that side of it, push it down, and then through. It's going
Through
to
the
come
other
through
side.
this, and then you let it go, and it'll stay in there.
Hopefully, I'll have more success than with the first
Yeah,
one.
this isn't hard.
Or else that could be for a very long video. Down.
There you go. That's it. So that should move freely down. Yep. And
All
that's the handle latch.
Okay.
That's what that is. Now that part is sub-assembled. We can set it aside, and we can start now with the frame, which is where all the firing mechanism is.
Okay.
And what we normally do is we'll lay these out on little numbered trays. This is how I would do it.
Okay.
And from the time the guns come back from anodizing, these parts, they're guns,
Right.
we maintain serial order from there on. And often that means when we ship guns out, they're in serial order.
Right.
Because that's how we build them, because we have to keep track of them.
Right.
And we don't want to lose them, all that stuff. So we'll put 10 on one of these little trays, and we'll put the mainspring, the striker, the trigger pivot, and the barrel latch in this, and just kind of loose lay them in there.
Okay.
And so we can do that. The trigger pin is the same diameter as the frame or handle pivot,
Mm-hmm.
but it's slightly shorter.
Shorter.
So grab that. That
Okay.
drops into this little tiny hole right there,
Okay.
and then just push it down. You got it. Okay, it's in there.
Okay.
The barrel latch, that will go in this slot with the the business end that way, the it's that way.
That way.
Yep. So drop that in there.
Okay.
All right, so now what you can see, here's an inside look at what that does. The barrel comes down through that little thing, and it cams the little latch out of the way.
Okay.
And then it grabs. So
Okay.
right now there's no spring tension on it, so it just moves freely.
Mhm.
But we'll get to that part.
Okay.
Here's your mainspring that drops in that big slot.
Right there.
Just drop it in there,
Okay.
and then your striker is oriented like this. There's your firing pin.
Okay.
This is where the mainspring nests in there. This is the little arm on the end that grabs the front of the mainspring, and the back of the mainspring is caught here on the frame. And then along here, this is actually the half-cocked trigger position right there.
Okay.
That's what it looks like inside. The trigger can't be pulled, but when you pull back on the striker, it cams the trigger down, and then the trigger sets there on the sear. That's cocked.
All right.
And when you pull it, it goes all the way there, and then when you reset it to half cock, it goes back to there.
Can we angle that a little bit more for the camera too?
Yeah. Here's the little trigger mechanism. There's the half cock position. This is the way it would be oriented in the gun. When you pull, cams the trigger down. There's the cocked position with the firing pin and the trigger and the sear engaged. Then you pull the trigger, the bolt goes forward, and it rests about right there. And then you reset it back to the half cocked.
Awesome.
There's your firing pin right there.
Cool.
So you want that spring to go kind of to the left end, the back end of the pocket,
Okay.
and then you roll this in front of the spring, and then you hold it down, pull it back a little bit, and put this in through the firing pin hole.
Okay. So now I pull back
Yep.
and just
You
guide
got
it.
it. Yep. That's it.
The
So
springs,
That's reasonably stable right there. It's not going to pop out by itself. The next step is where it gets kind of tedious.
Do I need my glasses?
No, you're all right. So this part is the hardest part of the assembly.
Okay.
I'm gonna just say, and I'll show you how I do it, and it's actually easier for a lefty to do. But
All right.
we've got techniques for the right-handed guys too. Little tiny torsion spring. It's easiest to hold the trigger in your left hand and the spring in your right hand. You orient them like that.
Okay.
For starters, I pick up this part, come in at a little bit of an angle, put the spring and the trigger over the trigger pivot, bring the trigger back around to roughly where it's going to be. We used to do this by hand, and one of my employees found these little tools,
I remember this.
and you just rotate that arm of the torsion spring around and into its little slot, and then you reset the bolt back to half cock. Now that will not stay there, so what I like to do is just hold down on the trigger
Okay.
the way you've got it.
Yep.
We'll take it off. I'm gonna let you do it.
Okay.
And then from there, you put the side plate on, and then you're safe. You got
Okay.
it. It's not gonna fly apart. But from here, it's just hard to keep it. We'll start back to where we were there.
Okay.
So trigger in your left hand,
Trigger left
torsion
hand.
spring in your right hand. Flip it over, flip the trigger over. There you go. And then
This
torsion
is-
springs goes on this side.
Man, I'm doing everything backwards.
There you go, just like that. Now flip it back over and put it kind of between your left thumb and forefinger.
Flip it over. Thumb and
Okay, and
forefinger.
I would turn it. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Let's see what you got here. That's not bad. I think that's actually. I think I do it with my right hand now that I think about it. I think I do it like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So move it to the right hand. I'll put that in.
Pick this up so that way you can move it all around and get it where you need it. So, okay, so you're good there. You're close. Get this leg down past that little stop right there. Okay, and then just hold down firmly on the trigger so that it's not going to come off that pin. There you go. And then just pull this back slightly and orient orient that, and it'll be in the half cock position. There you go. Now just keep all that on there. You're good. I like to put it down flat,
Okay.
and this direction, and just keep pressure on that trigger. Yep. And then actually I switch to my hand and just grab it out here so your finger's not in the way,
Okay.
and just just don't let it go.
Right.
So that has to go over the little lock tab and over the trigger pivot. I think you're on there. And now, so you're good. You can relax. Let's just get it straight here. What I do, it's just tactile. I feel both sides as I'm putting these screws in there,
Right.
and I make sure that it's lined up. But so I'll let you put your finger back on there.
Okay.
So take this. Here's your little technique for the screws. These things are tiny. You grab one like that. Hold it with your pinky. Dip it a tiny little bit in purple Loctite. I'll let you do the next one.
Okay.
And then you make sure you're not cross-threaded, and you snug those down. Just hand tight. There you go.
All right.
And now you don't have to hold this.
That's a good point.
It's now you got your hands free. It's really that first one that's a pain.
Then
So
you're
you
still
have
holding
to
that
hold
with
that
your.
with one finger or the other. It
It's
doesn't
not
matter.
magnetic, huh?
No, but I don't like them magnetic, honestly. Yeah, do
Either
that one next.
That one next.
Yeah, I'll tell you why. Those two can go fully in. The magnetic ones, when you reach over there, it'll grab the threads. It'll grab all sorts of ways.
I
and it's
can
just
see
a
that,
pain. Yeah.
And grab probably more than one.
Yep. All right. So into this one, you're gonna go. Just get it basically one turn.
Okay.
Just barely get the threads started. Okay.
Okay.
Now, pick it up and hold it like this. Drop the third small compression spring into that back little hole. That's coming in behind the barrel latch tab now.
Okay.
And then, this is the one part, sorry. We have a little tiny 1/8 inch long by 3/32 diameter precision pin. That's just a spacer. Push that in there. And then take 50 thousandths or 1/16 Allen wrench and push all that down till it stops.
All right.
Push that down, and you need both hands again. Hold that down with your right hand and hold the gun kind of like that.
Okay.
And then get your driver and push that screw back in most of the way. Keep going, keep going. Like if you go too far, you're just going to get tension on this.
Right.
Now you can pull this out, and then you can put the screw the rest of the way in. It's captured.
Okay.
It's captured that pin and spring.
Gotcha.
Behind that screw. That's what holds the final tension on the spring.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And then last part, anyway, the last fastener there at this part, you put that little set screw in as a dust cover.
Okay. Do I need the?
Yeah, I liked it, and that one will stay on the end. It'll stay on there. You shouldn't have to hold
Oh,
this.
okay.
But
Gotcha.
I mean, dip it just tiny, just one side, without it falling
It
off.
trusts the owner.
Yeah, that's plenty.
Okay.
So that just goes in there till it's just barely flush or slightly recessed so that it's not sharp. And I usually just take the corner of my little rag and wipe the Loctite, and then I feel it with my finger. In this step, just if you feel it, it needs to go in a little bit deeper.
Yeah. I think that feels pretty flush.
Okay, you're good.
Awesome.
Flip the gun over just the other direction like that, and you're ready for the barrel.
Okay.
I take one tiny little 5 thousandths washer. That's not that one. Let's get one of these, and you lay it right there.
Okay.
And then the easiest way is just to ease it in there, kind of let the washer go in there first. There you go. Now slide it all in, and then watch through that screw hole to line everything up roughly so that you can get the receiving, so you can put the shoulder screw in. You're close. Get it close, and then your shoulder screw, you can dip it in by hand into the Loctite, just get a little bit on the threads, and get it started. Get it, rest in there, that's fine. You don't have to hands tighten it in.
Okay.
Same driver. Sometimes you have to just push down a little bit to get it past that little washer. You're not started yet. Just push down on it pretty hard. There you go.
There we go.
And then just snug that up. You got it.
All right.
Now, what I like to do at this point, close the barrel, pick it up. Now you can hold the whole thing. You can close it. I like to do it a couple times. It should cam down there by itself now. This is, because it's a Gen 2. So there you go.
Ah.
And then I also like to cock the gun at this point, and then pull the trigger. Keep your fingers out of the way.
Yeah. So it's okay to dry fire a LifeCard?
So this doesn't have the liner in it. In this
Okay.
particular one, the firing pin's not going to hit the chamber right now. But I do it a couple times usually, and you just can kind of see that that it's working. And put it back to half cock. Now you're ready to put the handle on.
All right.
So I'm gonna spill just a little bit more detail that nobody knows yet, but you get the scoop on it.
Woohoo!
This is our old style barrel. So this utilizes a 22 long rifle pre-rifled liner. That's how we've always built these guns.
Mm-hmm.
And just recently we've switched, and they're just barely starting in production, to machining, broaching the barrels here on site.
Okay.
Instead of buying these liners. So we have some samples, but I didn't have any that were blacked that look finished for you to do this assembly. So this is slightly old style, and going forward, we haven't implemented it yet, so it's still, I don't want anybody yelling at me if they see one of these like this on the shelf, but
right.
So this has a bigger drilled hole, and then I'll show you how we put the liner in later, but going forward, that part will eliminate that step. This would be rifled as you install it and chambered and everything.
Oh, great.
So, yeah. Alright, so now we go back to the handle. I just pick it up in my left hand, and I take the pivot pin and insert it into that little receiving blind hole.
Okay.
And you just kind of cram it down in there. And then I pick up the frame and put it over. You kind of slide this latch back and then put the frame hole over that, and then just push it on there. Okay, and then close it. Okay, and then what I like to do is hold it. I hold it just like this. I line up, I flush both sides, and I hold it snug like that.
Okay.
I put one washer on, and then you put the little side on.
Okay.
And again, I think this is easier for a lefty, but the little washer on that little dowel. Just flip it over if you need to. And then put your side plate on. You had it just like that. Alright. Now, so in the polymer parts, it's not necessary to put Loctite because these are molded without threads.
Okay.
It's just a straight walled hole, and it's slightly undersized, and the screws cut the threads into them.
Okay.
And it holds it that way.
All right.
So just 3 more of the little 256 screws on each of those holes. Just,
any order that you like?
I have my own way of doing it, but I don't think it really matters.
Okay.
You get in a habit when you do 1,000.
Yeah. But now, if I started seeing your eye twitching, I know there's something I'm doing not quite right.
Oh, you're fine. You're ready right now. You're hired.
All right.
We'll get you trained up on that trigger.
There you go.
And the little storage door.
And that first spring, oh my word. Yeah, the storage door, yes.
Well, it's funny, where we do the pre-assembly, there are, quite a few little detents and springs that get shot across the room, and it's always good for a laugh.
So you need a magnet up top to catch them all. Okay.
So now you can function check the handle. You can open it, lock it.
Oh, that is so much lighter. Oh my word. So this feels really natural. I mean, even though it's a rectangle, how did you hand?
I started with a grip angle from a 1911. I just thought that'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have been any grip angle, but that's a pretty traditional grip angle.
Yeah.
Which I believe is basically 15 degrees off of perpendicular or 105 degrees off of parallel.
Mm-hmm.
3 3/8 of an inch long. So it's, I mean, I'm a grown man.
Yeah.
I've got all 3 of my fingers, I've
Yeah.
got all of my hand on the handle
Yeah.
and room still for the trigger. So
it's basically a full-size handle, even though it's not thicker
Yeah.
either direction. It's basically the right shape.
Yeah, it feels really good. Yeah.
Beyond that, I mean,
A lot of people are very surprised with
it's-
how natural it feels.
Sure,
Yeah, it's
and
great.
it's kind of rectangular, kind of boxy. That was the idea.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
wanted it to be real sleek and not stick out past that half-inch thick. So, all right. So here is the prior mentioned barrel liner. That's what we call it. This is the rifled portion of the barrel. We chamber these in 22 long rifle or 22 Magnum. It's specific chambering for whichever cartridge, and those are both the same length, and they go into the same receiving hole. But of course, we engrave the barrels with the appropriate cartridge as well. So caliber, that's what I'm trying to say. So we use a fired cartridge to set our headspace. Headspace is the distance between the breech and the chamber, and there's science involved there. It needs to be precise. There's specifications on that, and especially with rimfire, so that it will fire, but it won't back out of the chamber and explode.
Right.
So this little shell will only go in the chambered end. It won't go in the rifled end. So you can kind of see it if you look at it, but the easiest way to do is just check which end the shell goes in. That is a fired cartridge. It's not a live cartridge.
Right.
And then we drip some super dead Loctite on this and get it nice and coated, and then it's inserted in the muzzle end and just twisted and just slowly inserted in there, so you get a complete even coating of that red Loctite.
Okay.
Then we push it all the way in. Now what's happening is that cartridge, spent cartridge, is all the way now up against the breech face, and it's pushing back against the liner that we just put in there because of the thickness of the rim. And then we just push it in until it won't go any further, and then we let those rest. So if we were, it's Saturday, but if we were working today and we were assembling guns,
Right.
we would then, to maintain serial order, we've got a labeled carrier. These are for assembly only. You would put that one in, and you've got it. It's gluing. You don't disturb it now till tomorrow.
Okay.
And then the next one would go here and here until you got 10 of them in there. And then those would get set aside until tomorrow. Then when we come in tomorrow, you get in there, take the fired cartridge out. This one's not glued in, obviously.
Right.
And these would go out into a test fire caddy that'll hold 20 guns, and we test fire them down at the range down below.
All right. That's the most fun part of the day.
Yeah, and then after test firing, each gun comes in, it's wiped down, is function checked yet again. Now it's gone through, at every stage it's been function checked, everything. So, but we do 100% function check again at packaging, final packaging. I mean, you've just done the firing mechanism. We actually don't fire it again. We don't dry fire it. But you've just, we shoot 2 cartridges through every gun, not one. And that's a function check, but it has to fire both times, and they do. But we check the storage door, we check the handle lock up in the closed position and in the open position. We open the barrel, take out the fired casing from the second round. That goes to the customer in the packaging, and we put a snap cap in. So you've checked the barrel, you've checked that it's unloaded, excuse me. We don't send guns out loaded.
That's a good thing.
And you've put the fire shell in there, and we wipe it down, and then the last thing you have to check is the serial number.
Right.
And then you generate a barcode label for that has the barcode, the UPC code, and the serial number on it. Package it up. We'll get to that next.
Sounds good. All right. On to the next step.
Yeah.
All right.
Normally we would test fire, 20 guns or 100 guns at one time. We wouldn't, we wouldn't go down there and do one unless it was a
warranty issue or some, for some reason, or like we're doing today.
Yeah.
So we've just been down at the range.
Mhm.
We've test fired this gun. It fired well, so good job. You assembled it right. And we're here now at the packaging station. That I would call that the shipping packaging station. And I'm just going to walk you through basically what we do. This is not super interesting, but it is. This is what we do. So we've got the gun. I like to glance at the serial number so that I know I'm working on the right one.
Mm-hmm.
We've got our fired casing. That's the first thing that goes right in there. I've pre-positioned the packaging, and there's also some dummy proofing in there. So we put the snap cap right where the gun's going to go,
Okay.
and it's bright orange.
Yep.
You can't package the gun with that in there. So you know that you have to take the fired casing out, and you put the snap cap in, close it up. Now that part's done. You don't have to worry about it. And then we're checking visually, checking that everything works.
Mm-hmm.
I've done the handle, I've done the barrel, open, closed, and then just a final, get any assembly oil or, residue from firing the gun off of it.
Mm-hmm.
Slides into its own little spot. We already had the padlock in there, federal requirement for child safety.
Right.
In the box lid, I've got the little instruction manual, a logo sticker, and a little insert. And so that just gets flipped over. But we would take note the serial range, and I'll show you. We just generate a barcode real quick.
Okay.
So, I would normally have them already done so that there's no way that I could put the wrong one on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, we lay that in there, package it up, put the barcode on the little sleeve. And there's your final retail packaging like that.
All right.
And then when it arrives, it would have the barcode right there. I'll zip over there and I'll generate a barcode real quick. And there's your label.
All right.
Just like that. And we would just affix that there. Serial number, model, UPC, Trailblazer Firearms, LifeCard 22LR.
Mm-hmm.
That's simple.
All right.
And then that gun is ready to be shipped off.
All right. Ever do any autographs on the labels?
There are a handful of guns. Most notably, I guess, what serial number was it? Probably 1003, 1004, somewhere in there. I sent to 22 Plinkster.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
and
yeah.
I autographed it and I personalized. I put 22 Plinkster on the little barcode.
Oh, dude, nice.
So I do that.
His video on the LifeCard was fantastic.
Yeah, it's done really well. Yeah. Very occasionally I'll do that. If it's something special, I'll autograph it.
Okay.
But,
Awesome.
yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
So ready to go.